Hey guys, Chelsea here, and we're going to be doing a 60-minute deep stretch class. Before we begin, go ahead and locate a few props. We are going to need a strap. If you do not have a strap, you could go ahead and grab the tie to your bathrobe, an extension cord, or a kid's jump rope. The other thing you can grab here is a couple of blocks or something substantial to place underneath your hands throughout today's practice. And the other thing we're going to need is a blanket. Now everyone has a blanket at home. You're going to take your blanket and you're going to roll it up into a nice tight roll here. So nothing too big. And then you want to make it where that blanket roll is at least the width of your torso, if not slightly wider. And we're going to begin with this today. You're going to place it horizontally onto your mat, about 3/4 of the way up your mat. We're going to begin today in a supported fish pose, a nice heart opener. You're going to begin to drape your upper back over and upon your blanket roll, gently setting your head down towards your mat or to the earth. And allow your shoulder blades to coil down and around the edge of the top of your blanket roll and your arms to just come out to the side. So you're working to achieve softness into your chest by drawing your shoulders back to make their connection to your mat. You get that pressure there of that blanket roll underneath the thoracic spine to create a lift of the heart and the chest, and a slight curvature through your upper back. And then options here with your legs. You can maintain a bend if you prefer, or you can begin to extend your feet out to the bottom corners of the mat and allow your toes and thighs to splay out to the side. A third and final option would be to find your Supta Baddha Konasana legs, soles of the feet touch, knees butterfly open. From here, just arrange that blanket so that you feel the lift of the chest, your breath pressing actively into the top of the roll. Your eyes begin to close and your jaw begins to soften. Working to settle in to this heart opener. Shut your eyes and clench your jaw and temples. Create heaviness in the space behind your eyes. Begin to relax your ears, your shoulders. Feel the expansion across the chest, the spread of the clavicle. Allow the open heart to bring space and transformation. Arms and legs begin to fall open and heavy. Take up space. Then imagine that space becoming bigger as you give the sense of relaxation a light. A hue that radiates just beyond the physical body to transform the space immediately around you into a gentle glow. Let that light grow and take up more space. Let the space give you the permission to relax entirely, to breathe deeply. The space to close the mind off to external interferences, distractions. Stay here in this breath, in this glow for a few more moments. And as we exist in this place of uncertainty, these moments of challenge, some of you may be using this time to heal, to rest. Others simply anxious to leave this space in the past. Whatever this slate presents to you, comes from a place of transformation. Despair to hope, thoughts to action, goals to realities, exhaustion to restfulness. And this becoming will ask for your breath, your patience, your fight and perseverance, knowing that transformation is made of both surrender and strength. Take a couple more deep rounds of breath. And sometimes the healing isn't as complicated as it feels. It just asks for space and surrender and release. Begin to draw gentle movement into your fingertips and toes, your wrists and ankles. And if you have healthy shoulders and you're able to maintain your deep in and out breaths, begin to reach your arms up overhead, stretching long, stretching tall. Carefully take your hands back beside the body, and we are going to carefully roll off and away from your blanket roll. So maybe you choose to roll to the side, and then we are going to start to come up here. And as you come up, you're going to take that blanket roll off to the side, but I want you to keep it into a roll. We're going to use it here momentarily. And you're going to come to all fours. And as we come to all fours, you're going to spread your fingertips really wide. And then as you inhale, lower the belly, arch your back, pull the heart and the chest forward. And then as you exhale, draw your chin to your chest, press the earth away, navel to spine. Let's take a couple more here. As you drop your belly, pull the heart forward, finding these spinal undulations. Acknowledging where in the back side of your body that you hold your tension and begin to move into those places. You could take your movement side to side. You could take it forward and backward. Drawing circles with the body, moving into the side body spaces, right to left. Just take a couple more rounds of breath here, moving with fluidity. And then from here, we're going to come back into your tabletop pose. Tuck all 10 toes underneath. We're going to get a little foot and toe stretch. So coming into a little toe stand, you can reach back behind you, making sure that you get the pinky toes. All 10 toe prints make their connection to the top of your mat. And then start to lower your hips towards your heels. Now be mindful that your heels aren't splaying out to the side, so all the weight isn't to the outer edges of your feet. You want to line your heels up with your sits bones as you sink your hips down towards your heels. Now this may be enough of a stretch for you here. If you are looking for more, feel free to walk your hands outside your hips and stack your shoulders on top of the hips. Now this can be very intense. So option to modify by placing your hands down, less weight to the hips to the heels, Or you could use your blocks if you want to work on sitting upright. You could take your blocks outside of your legs, placing some weight upon them, and then from here, stacking your shoulders over your hips. Some of you might be open enough that you can start to lean back. That's pretty intense, keeping your knees on the ground, shoulders down away from your ears. You want to keep all 10 toes tucked underneath, making sure that there's even weight in the big toe side edges of your feet as well as the pinky toe side edges. Keeping everything nice in line, we're going to get a little stretch into the tops of the quads as well. So starting from the ground up, your feet, as you experience that stretch to the underside of the foot, the Achilles tendon. I know it's intense. We're going to hold for a few more rounds of breath, trying to maintain your toes tucking underneath, maintaining your breath. Let's hold for 3. Holding for 2. If your hands aren't already, go ahead and take them out in front of you, untuck your toes, and give your feet a slight little tap against the ground. You can move your feet side to side. I like a little tapping sensation just to bring the blood flow back into the tips of the toes. And then from here, from hands and knees, you're going to grab that blanket roll that you made earlier and take it behind the knee. So you really want to wedge that blanket really inside the knee creases. Taking your knees hip distance apart, we begin to sit back on top of it. Your toes are not tucked anymore, tops of the feet on top of the mat, so that you're getting an ankle stretch here. I'm going to move that block so that you can see. And that blanket roll is wedged underneath the thighs here. So getting a little acupressure into your quad, or into your hamstrings and into your calves. You can find a little bit of movement side to side here, just breaking up any congestion to the back sides of the legs. Again, you're getting that stretch into the tops of the feet now, the ankles, you're getting a stretch of the quads. You can use your blocks once again if you'd like the weight here underneath your hands to take a little bit of weight off of your blanket roll. If you do not have blocks and it's really intense, taking that blanket underneath and behind the legs, you can take that same modification we did in that toe tuck. You can take your hands forward, a little less weight onto your blanket roll. You can find movement side to side. If you arrive at a place of congestion or maybe some tension, you could stay, sending a couple breaths into that area. Working to open up the backs of the legs. Good, if you need more, you can lean back into it, making sure that those heels aren't splaying out to the side. And then we're going to come back forward just enough that you can slide that blanket about 6 inches back behind you, so that the blanket roll is now going to land where the crease of your glute meets the top of the thigh. And it's a little bit lower there onto your ankles. You're going to draw your heels in towards the midline of your body. As you sit your hips back, this is going to be a little bit more on the ankles, a little bit more onto the tops of the thighs as you sit your hips back here on top of your blanket roll. Now that blanket roll is breaking up any congestion at the top of the hamstring as well as the base of the glute. You can find that movement once again, but that might be pretty intense on the ankles. So know that those modifications still exist if you want to place your hands upon your blocks, or if you want to lean it forward. Taking less weight into your hips is going to provide less pressure onto your feet and onto the blanket. Maybe you find that same movement back and forth. You could find stillness in one place. Just breathe. Those of you who have very open ankles, you can always sit up or lean back here, getting a little bit more into the front side of the body, creating a little bit more weight onto the heels and onto your blanket. We're going to take about 3, maybe 5 more rounds of breath here. Good if you want to stay in stillness for 3. For 2. You're going to walk your hands back forward, coming back to tabletop here. If you've got that blanket underneath you, you can move it out to the side, but you want to keep it into that roll. And we're going to come into a twist, working now into your spine. From hands and knees, you keep your hips stacked over the knees as you take that left arm and thread it underneath, dropping left tricep, left shoulder, and left ear down to the ground. Now from here, you can extend that right arm forward, working to take your gaze underneath that right underarm as you rotate your chest towards the right side of the room. Now you can always keep that right hand in front of the chest if you want something to be a little bit more structural. Now a couple options, that right hand can also come behind your back. You can weave it into that inner left thigh if you want more, taking that little half wrap. If you want some extension through the inner thighs, you're going to send that right foot out to the side, and then maybe you reach your left fingertips towards your right toes as you rotate and send your gaze over the right shoulder. Allow your head to be heavy here. Allow the twist of the thoracic spine to occur. And if you have a healthy neck, I encourage you to send your gaze over that right shoulder to maintain a twist of the cervical spine as well. Keeping your hips stacked over your knees. Keep wrapping and rotating with each exhale. We're going to see a similar shape to this later. It's going to be a little less passive. We're going to find the same half wrap, that same reach to opposite foot. So we're just warming up the body, finding the twist, finding the extension in that right shoulder and tricep. And take a few rounds of breath. Allowing the upper body in that left arm to be heavy. Sending your inhales all the way into that belly space. And exhale out the crown of the head. You have that right hand wrapped to your low back. Begin to release the wrap and place that right palm back down to the earth in front of the face. Pull that right knee in if it's extended. Press into the right palm, counter stretch. Left arm reaches up towards the sky as you rotate your chest to the left side of the room. Gaze goes up to the left middle finger. Take an inhale. Exhale, left hand comes down. Between sides, we're going to take our extended puppy dog pose. Keeping hips stacked over the knees once again, you start to walk your hands forward. Now refrain from letting your elbows splay out to the side as you drop your forearms and elbows down to the ground. Start to guide the heart and chest towards the top of your mat. Now this is about as low as I'm going to go, or else I'm going to squish my mic. But from here, you can drop your head down, planting the third eye to the ground. If you're really flexible, you can draw your chest all the way down and your chin onto the top of the mat, gazing to the top of your mat, taking any pressure out of the low back. The tendency here is that your arms want to go out into a V shape. You want to keep your wrists in line with the shoulders and roll the eyes of the elbows, that's the crease of your elbows, up towards the sky, finding an internal wrap and rotation, plugging shoulders down into the upper back. And then your exhale breath, send your heart and chest down towards the mat so that you find that concavity into the upper back, similar to how we experienced at the beginning of practice when we took that supported fish pose. except for here it's a little bit more intense. You're using gravity to draw the chest down, the weight of your body to get a little bit more through the upper back. Take deep breaths into the chest space. Exhale, get a little bit deeper. Let's hold for 2, maybe 3 more in and out breaths. Start to lift your head away from the mat, walking your hands up underneath your shoulders. You arrive back into your tabletop pose. May feel good here to move the shoulders side to side or forward, backward, or protract and retract the shoulders. We're going to go to that second side. So you plant that left hand down, your right arm reaches up as you inhale. We start to thread that needle, lower right shoulder down, right tricep and right ear. Hips stay stacked on top of the knees. Left arm has the option of moving forward, staying in front of your face, or maybe you find that half wrap. Wrapping left hand behind your back, palm up for that external rotation. You may be even grabbing the inner edge of that right inner thigh. Rolling left shoulder open. Gaze can go up towards the sky from here. If you took the extension of that right leg on the first side, you do the same thing here with the left leg. You extend that left leg out, reaching right fingertips towards left ankle bone. Find that rotation. Those of you who have a lot of spinal mobility through twisting, you can send that right hand out to the left foot and then work to take the back of that right shoulder down, almost as if you were going to try to take that spine down. Your gaze goes up and you start to lean back, rolling that left shoulder open, feeling a nice big chest stretch. You're getting the wrap, the rotation of your vertebrae. Maybe you're getting a stretch of that inner left thigh. Head is supported so that if you're gazing over that left shoulder, you're rolling to the back of your head almost as if you were going to take that left ear to the ground. And breathe. The further you wrap that left hand, the more intense on that left tricep it becomes. If you need more support, place left hand down or even reach left hand to the top of your mat, creating a backwards L shape instead. Deep breaths into your low back. That left hand is to your low back. Begin to release. Placing left palm down, left knee comes in. Counter stretch. Pressing into that left palm, right arm reaches up. You rotate open, gaze goes up to the right palm. Sending right hand down. Child's pose. Big toes touch, knees go wide. If you've got knee problems, take that little blanket roll, place it over your heels or behind your knees. Lowering hips towards your heels, belly, heart, and chest fall between the gate of the thighs as your fingertips reach to the top of your mat. Now again, I'm going to stay up just so that I'm not squishing my mic, but you want to start to guide the heart and chest down towards the top of your mat, lowering head down, making sure that your shoulders aren't creeping up in towards your ears, roll them back down. Now a few options here. If you want more, you can take prayer hands and start to bend your elbows, taking your thumbs to the nape of the neck, the base of the skull. You draw your elbows in and you feel that stretch into the back sides of the arms. Continuing to allow the chest to fall down, creating that divot, that space, that concavity into your upper back. Allow your hips to sink further towards your heels. Taking deep inhales and cleansing exhales. rounds of breath. Now begin to walk your hands up. If you've got prayer hands, extend your fingertips first. And as you walk your hands up, we're going to come back up onto hands and knees, and then you're going to drop your hips down. Now I'm going to start to face you, but you're just going to stay where you're at. You're going to send that right foot forward. As you extend the right foot forward, we're finding Janu Shirshasana legs. You take the sole of the left foot to the inner right thigh. Look down and make sure that your right ankle, knee, and hip are all in one straight line, and your hips aren't opening to the left side of the room. If you feel like you're really heavy onto that left leg or hip, place something underneath this left thigh for a little bit more support. But you want to stay even and squared off to the front of the room, and then maintain flexion in your right foot, meaning you're drawing your right toes back towards your shin, and you're going to grab whatever you're using. You maybe have that bathrobe, you maybe have that kid's jump rope, or maybe you have a yoga strap, those are the words. And you're going to take it and wrap it around your right big toe. You're going to take it to the ball of the foot. So again, you're maintaining the flexion of the right foot, but you can keep a little bend in this right knee, never locking out your joints. Your hands come to your straps. You roll the shoulder blades back, sitting up as tall as you can. Exhale, hinge and forward fold. Walking your hands up the strap towards the feet. You want to lower shoulders down away from the ears and make sure that your back is nice and straight. Now, of course, we can go a lot further here if we start to round the spine. But I want you to bring the shoulder blades back together, maintaining a long length through the vertebrae, and then hinging from your hips to take your belly towards your thighs and the crown of the head towards your toes. Keep rolling shoulder blades back. And exhale, hinge further, finding the back of that right hamstring. Again, little micro bend in that right knee if you need to, or maybe it's a really big bend, but you still want to draw your toes back to the crown of the head as you fold. If sitting upright in this position is already a lot for you, go ahead and grab that blanket roll and place it horizontally underneath your hips. That's going to lift your pelvis slightly above your heel, creating a little less pressure for your low back. And then maybe from there, with your pubic bone slightly lifted, you can begin to tilt it forward and find a little bit of a hinge from your hips with that blanket underneath your body. So again, if you need more assistance, grab that, place it underneath your hips, and begin to fold. With each inhale, think about drawing your breath down the spine. Exhale, folding a little bit deeper. Inhale into the back of that right leg. Exhale, let it go. Noticing if you're clenching in your face, your shoulders, your leg. See if you can release the tension. And then maybe that allows you to move further into your shape. So you inhale, begin to stack your shoulders over your hips once again, sitting up nice and tall here. You're going to take your strap or whatever you have and drape it over that left hip. Now I'm of the understanding that most things are not this long, and that's okay. If that's the case, you can kind of just hold it here. We are going to find a little bit of a half wrap. If your strap or whatever you're using is not long enough, then we can kind of work through that as we go. So as you take that strap diagonally over the body and over that left hip, it's this right hand that's going to come back behind you with your palm up, and it grabs for that strap. Now, if you don't have something long enough to maintain this, then you're just going to wrap your hand behind your back. I'm going to show you here what it looks like from behind. My palm is up. The back of my right hand is outside of that left hip and rib cage space. There is enough tension on the strap that it's still drawing the right toes back to the crown of the head. And the body here naturally wants to begin to twist. So we're going to take this left hand, reach it outside of that right thigh and knee, and just gently start to rotate to the right. You start to notice a little bit more slack into that strap, that maybe you can crawl that right hand up the strap towards your right toes a little bit further. That's going to give you more stretch into the top of the shoulder, your deltoid, all the way into that scapula. And then you find a twist and gaze over the right shoulder. Now notice as you twist, you can walk that hand up the strap, getting a little bit further into this shape. You could stay up nice and tall here, just working that mobility of that right arm, working the twist of the spine. If you're looking for more, this left hand is going to grab for the outer edge of that right foot. Again, there was a little bit of slack in the strap, so walking my right hand up a little bit further. You can rotate, you can bend that left elbow, and you can start to draw that left ear towards your right knee. So what that looks like from the side is a rotation, a bend, and you're trying to take that left ear outside the knee, outside, and you get a lot more into your hamstring. You still want to maintain the stretch of the shoulders, so you continue to walk that right hand down the strap towards your right foot, knowing you can sit up nice and tall. Send an inhale, exhale, you may want to fold in a little bit deeper. So a lot of things happening here. You've got that inner left thigh, you've got that right hamstring, and if you're taking that twist and that rotation as you fold, you're starting to get the edge of that IT band as well. You're getting the rotation of the spine as well as that stretch into the right shoulder. And if you want to get it into your neck, send your gaze up, rotating and folding with each exhale. Inhale at the crown of the head. Exhale, fold. Now, if you do not have a strap or something that you can reach for behind your back, you can just continue to wrap that right hand, and then maybe that left hand grabs the right foot and you find that twist from here without the strap. That's just a little extra element here to get a nice deep stretch into that right shoulder and arm. As we hold for 3, for 2, your gaze goes to the right toe, and I just want you to release that right hand so there's no pressure into the arm as we square off our body. And then set that right arm down beside you. The strap that's on your right foot and over that left hip, just move it off to the side. Bending that right knee, take that right heel outside of the right hip so you've got the stag leg or 90-90. If your hips aren't on the ground, send that blanket roll underneath the hips here. Sitting up nice and tall, we're going to give this right shoulder a little bit of a break by taking that right hand down to the ground, just heavy. Left arm reaches up and over, getting a side body stretch. Right hand can come onto a block if the right hand doesn't touch the ground. Left arm reaches up and over, and gaze goes underneath the left underarm. We're getting a stretch here through your quadris lumbar. Continuing to open up the chest towards the sky, opening and rotating that left shoulder back. If this is a lot on that top left hand, just take that left hand behind your head, guiding left elbow open, gaze up towards the sky as you lean over to the right side of your mat. You should be feeling this here, the left side body, the left side of your low back, all the way up through your subscapula and out that left elbow or hand with a slight compression into the right side of your body. We breathe for 3. Good for 2. Left hand comes down, stacking shoulders on top of your hips, sit up nice and tall. And then we begin to extend that left leg forward, bending right knee, sole of the right foot comes to inner left thigh, Janu Shirshasana. Same setup as we did on that first side. Look down, make sure that left ankle, knee, and hip are all in line. Right knee is out to the side and you're squared off to the front of the room. If you need to take something underneath this right knee for support, do so now. We locate the strap and we loop it around your left foot. Taking it to the ball mound of the foot, relax that left knee, no locking out, no hyperextension. Roll shoulder blades back, sitting up nice and tall. Exhale, begin to hinge from your hips, folding into your Janu Shirshasana. If you need a little bit less, grab something and place it underneath your hips, making sure you're not twisting to the right side of the room, rolling shoulder blades back, fold over that left leg. Working to create that space into the back side of that left leg, through the base of the glute, the hamstring, all the way up through the calves, the feet, and fold on your exhale. Working to reach the crown of the head towards your left toes. Find yourself heavy in this shape. Finding your breath long. Use your inhales and your exhales to take you further, to release tension, to guide you to a place of stillness. So we hold for 3. For 2. Gently come back up. You're going to keep the strap into your hands, and we are going to send that strap over that right hip crease. So remember, you just need to go diagonal over the body. If you do not have anything that reaches there, you can take the same thing on what you did in the first side without using any kind of strap. This left hand is going to reach behind you. Palm is going to come up so that it grabs the edge of that strap. Your palm is up, that left shoulder starts to lower down away from your ears. And you walk that left hand up the strap. Okay, taking the back of that left hand to the right waistline, that right rib cage. Sitting up nice and tall, this right arm reaches up, right hand locates left thigh as you sit up on your inhale. Exhale, begin to twist and rotate. Send your gaze over that left shoulder. Notice the slack that gets created into that strap and see if you can walk your hands up to create a nice taut connection from that left foot to left hand. Sit up on your inhale. Exhale, maybe you rotate further. Now, if you took it to that furthest depth on the first side, do so here. You're going to take that right hand that's outside the left thigh, reaching for the outer edge of that left foot. As you reach, if it doesn't reach the foot, you can always grab for your ankle or maybe for your shin. Inhale, exhale, you twist. And then from here, if you want more, bending your elbows, sending that right ear towards your left knee. Inhale, exhale. If you want more, walk that left hand up the strap towards your left foot. Rotate and fold. Knowing that if you came here and you're feeling too much tension into the backside of that left leg or left shoulder, you can take a bend in that left knee. You can unhinge from your hips. You can slide that left hand up the strap a little bit further, creating less of a wrap, less of a bind. Finding your space, the opportunity for you to achieve a stretch. Not so much that you're arriving at a place of discomfort that the breath becomes compromised. And we hold. Continuing to feel the length into the top of that left shoulder, deltoid and tricep. You're still wrapping the spine, finding the rotation. You're still folding from the hips here if you choose, finding more length into the back side of that left leg, IT band and glute. And then if you want that neck stretch, gaze goes over the left shoulder all at the same time. Inner right thigh is open, breath is long. If you bound towards that left arm, release the right hand from left foot and just release the strap from that left hand entirely before unraveling so that we can protect that left arm. You can roll it out. Take the strap off and away from that left foot. We find your stag legs. Draw that left heel towards the left hip, finding 2 bent knees. Lower shoulders down away from your ears. Left hand comes outside of that left shin or ankle bone. Right arm reaches up. We find that side body stretch. Left hand can always come to a block or something to bring the earth closer to you. As we begin to lean, you want to keep that right hip on the ground, rotating your heart and chest up towards the sky, leaning over to the left. If this is a lot to have your right arm just dangling, place that right hand behind your head, drawing right elbow back, lifting heart and chest space towards the sky. Your gaze might go there as well. Breathing deeply into your right side body, your rib cage, your low back, and your side muscles. Take inhales as you fill. And exhales as you fall further to the left. That right hand comes back beside your hips. Sitting up nice and tall here. Take an inhale. And exhale, we're just going to unravel your legs and come onto your back. So as we come onto your back, you guys should still have that blanket roll nearby. You want to keep it here and you want to find your strap or whatever you're using in lieu of a strap. Coming onto your back, you bend your knees slightly so that you can start to lift your hips up, sliding that blanket roll horizontally underneath your hips. Lower your hips down. Your hips are slightly supported and lifted away from the mat with the use of your blanket roll. And then you can start to walk your feet to the bottom corners of the mat. Now this is a very safe and mild psoas stretch. We've got only a slight little lift of the hips, so you can allow your feet and thighs to display openly here. If you're a sufferer of sciatica or SI dysfunction, this might even be a little too much pressure on your low back. If that's the case, bend your knees and you can find more support here at any time. But if you can, find the extension, soften the glutes entirely, feel the traction of the low back and the lift of the hips. And then we're going to play to the shape here. You're going to start to pull that right knee in towards the chest. So you've got that open left hip flexor and now you're compressing the right. With your hands to the knees or behind the thighs, start to pull that right knee into the chest. You've got a lift of your pelvis, so you might find an increased range of motion as you draw that right knee in, but ensure that that left heel is still firmly rooted into your mat. You pull the knee in, keep the head, neck, and shoulders heavy. Now you're going to take that strap that you have, loop it around the ball of the right foot, and extend that right heel up towards the sky. Now you can just walk your hands down that strap so that you can plug the shoulder blades deeply into the mat. And then we start to find the hamstring stretch, guiding your right toes back towards the crown of the head. Now that left leg is not a seesaw. You want to keep that left heel on the ground, so if it starts to lift, you need to take a little tension out of that top right leg. And then drawing your right toes open, that left leg is heavy. You get that nice big psoas stretch on the left side, and we start to work to find depth in the back of that right leg. Using your strap. Some of you might be mobile enough that you could take your hands just to your foot, But I would prefer that you use some sort of method to connect your foot to your hands like a strap so that you can really work to take the shoulder blades down. We keep the exercise here in the low body rather than creating tension into your shoulder blades that we just released through that twist, that previous stretch. You can keep a big bend in that right knee. If it is really difficult for you to keep that left heel on the ground, which sometimes it often is, you just bend that left knee and that foot can go down, and maybe finding a little bit more stability in that left leg. Breathe here. Take the tension out of that right leg. Place that right hand onto that right hip. We're going to find an IT band stretch. About 10-15 degrees, you send that right foot over to the left side of the room. Now, if the right side of your low back is lifting off and away from the blanket roll, you've gone too far. Plug it back in, making sure that that right side of your low back is equally as heavy as the left. You get the compression of the hips as you send that right foot to the left side of the room. And you find this diagonal line from ankle bone all the way to outer hip, and that's where we begin to find that IT band all the way up into the ankle. A few things here. If this is a lot for you, send that right heel forward. If you need more intensity, send your right toes towards your left ear. If you want to feel a stretch into the outer ankle, you could arrange to take the sole of the foot over to the right side of the room. And as you do that, you get a nice stretch into the outer foot, outer ankle, all the way down into that right IT band, all the way up into your piriformis. It does not have to be a really big stretch to start to feel the outer edge of the leg. So if your foot is just going over maybe even 10 or like 5-10 degrees and you start to feel it, just hold there. Allow your body to tell you when it can go further, when you need a little bit more. Taking deep rounds of breath. I know this one is intense. If you are like most here who've done a lot of walking or running or cycling, as your exercise, you might start to notice a little bit more tension here into the outer edges of the legs. Perhaps it begins to pull to your low back. So this is a really good stretch to implement into your new exercise routine so that you can prevent a lot of discomfort. So we hold for 3. 2. Take that right foot back up to center. We slide the strap off of that right leg, pulling right knee into the chest. You send right foot down to meet the left. Take a moment just to notice and acknowledge the difference between your sides. Maybe that right leg feels a little bit longer. And then we're going to work to create that balance, that symmetry by pulling that left knee into the chest. Now, as you take that left thigh in towards your heart and your knee towards your sternum, just start to feel the length in the back side of that left glute and leg. Pull it in a little bit tighter towards your left shoulder. Keeping your right heel firmly planted to your mat, you take that strap that you had and you begin to loop it around the ball mound of the left foot. Left heel reaches up towards the sky as you slide your hands down the strap. Take a little bend in that left knee, no locking out the joints. Flex your left toes back to the crown of the head and begin to guide your left toes up and over. Right heel stays on the ground. I can't stress that enough. So if that means that you need to take a bend in that right knee, do so. Or if that means you need to take that left heel forward to take some more tension out, plant the right heel down, and then maybe you work to find more space once that right heel is planted. I want your body to be entirely supported here. Just checking the time. Keep your glutes soft, your low back and hips heavy. Head, neck, and shoulders relaxed. Feel that right hip flexor, that right psoas lengthen as that right leg is heavy. Taking it to your edge for 3. Then you're going to take the strap and then take the strap over into your right hand, releasing tension out of the back side of that left hamstring. Left hand can come to that left hip. Press the left hip down. We send the left foot over to the right side of the room about 10, 15 degrees, if not less. Making sure left hip is equally heavy. No lifting of the left side body away from your blanket roll or mat. We start to direct the left sole of the foot to the right side of the room. And then from here, you've got those same options. Less, heel goes forward. More, left toes go towards your right ear. If you want that stretch into the outer ankle, you could take the sole of that left foot over to the right as if you were stamping your footprint over onto the right side of the room. One side may be a little bit tighter than the other. Just work to find a deeper breath. Creating that mind-body connection, that acknowledgement of where your body is now, in this moment, in this space. Listening to if you need more, if you need less. Let's hold. 3 more in and out breaths. Start to take that left foot back up to center. Bend the left knee, sliding strap off and away from that left foot. Bend the left knee into the chest. We send the left foot forward to meet the right. Noticing the length in both of your legs, feeling equally heavy, equally warm. Bending one knee and then the other. So that blanket roll is still underneath your hips. And then you're going to pull your knees into your chest. If you feel off balance here, you're going to take your blanket up a little bit higher into your low back. But we're going to come into a happy baby with your pelvis lifted. So you can use the strap if your hands don't connect to your feet. But you're going to reach for the inner outer edges of your feet. Now your hips are slightly lifted here. So that navel is going to pull down and into your low spine. And you start to draw your knees down towards your underarms. Now you've got that lift of your hips, so maybe go a little bit further, drawing the knees down towards the outer edges of your mat. Look at your ankles and make sure they're stacked over the knees and your toes are flexed towards the back of the room. Now I like to find a little bit of movement here. You may just enjoy the stillness, but if you move side to side, that blanket roll kind of creates a bit of acupressure onto the shelf of your low back. Some of you may want to work into your hamstrings by ninja kicking one leg out to the side and then the other. Just finding stillness or movement as needed. Feel that blanket roll press against the low back, the tops of the glutes. Creating that shelf, that support. Rounding your low back. Coming back to center. Set your feet into Supta Baddha Konasana shape. Take your feet down to the ground, soles of the feet touch, and butterfly your knees open. If this is uncomfortable as that you create that curvature of your low spine, you're just going to move that blanket roll out from underneath your hips. Arms are going to go out to the side. Hips are slightly lifted. Now, as that counter stretch, as we find the curvature into your lumbar spine, your tailbone and pelvis is heavy. Your knees open wide, and the knife edges of your feet just rest upon the top of your mat. I invite you to stay here for as long as you'd like. Start to take you into a Shavasana. You draw your knees together. Lift your hips up and just slide that blanket roll down to probably the base of your glutes, upper thighs, and start to extend your legs out in front of you. The backs of your thighs just rest heavily upon your blanket. Your arms rest beside you, palms up. Shoulders rotate down. Eyes begin to close. Before you settle in, just start to bring awareness to those hot spots of tension. You're holding onto your abdominal muscles, your hips, your glutes. If you've got tension in your jaw or your shoulders, allow it to melt away, being absorbed into the mat beneath you, so that you no longer have to carry it with you. Gently start to move around fingertips and toes, wrists and ankles. Maybe rock your head side to side.